Starting January 31st and running through February 6th, Catholic schools here in the Diocese of Scranton will be taking part in the annual celebration of Catholic Schools Week. The theme for this year's celebration is Catholic Schools, Communities of Faith, Knowledge, and Service. Joining me today, we're going to talk with students from two of our diocesan high schools to find out why they so much value their Catholic education. Joining me now, it's a pleasure to welcome Zoe Haggerty, who is a senior at Holy Cross High School in Dunmore. Next, I'd like to welcome Gannon Pomater, who is also a senior from Holy Cross High School in Dunmore. We're going to go down the pike a little bit to Wilkes-Barre. We have two representatives from Holy Redeemer High School in Wilkes-Barre, starting off with Timothy Cavanaugh, who is a junior at Holy Redeemer, and finally Alexis Davison, who is a senior at Holy Redeemer High School. First of all, thank you so much for taking time out from your schedules today to be here. Zoe, I'd like to start off by asking you a question about Catholic schools in general. When I do these particular programs, I never try to put down our public schools. My belief is that you could go to any school and get a decent education, but what do you think it is about Catholic schools that set them apart? Schools like Holy Cross, why do you think it is something a little bit different and above what you would normally get at another school?
I think the Catholic schools have much to offer, and I know this from a personal experience because when I was applying for high schools, my father was in Uganda doing missionary work, and I realized that I had many options to choose from in going to high school. Some were Catholic, some were non-denominational, but the students that my dad was meeting in Uganda, they didn't have any opportunities, they didn't have any options to choose from. So I was very fortunate by having these options, and I realized that in going to a Catholic school, I would have an education that would focus on religion and prepare me to help other people and to become a better person. And I was inspired by my dad's work, so I wanted to go out and be able to help other people, and I felt that Holy Cross High School would really have something to offer in helping other people.
Yeah, speaking of that, in addition to the academics that you're receiving at Holy Cross, a great deal of time is spent on teaching you what it means to be a good person, what it means to be Christ for other people. Why do you think that aspect of it, the spiritual education, is just as important as any other subject there?
Well, part of academics is very important in our lives, what we do as a career, what we do in college and everything, but that's only part of our lives. The rest of it is what we do outside of school, what we do outside of work, and the type of person that we are. And that's why I feel like Catholic education strives to teach its students how to act, what morals to act with. And in that, it builds up us from our character and how we respond to people, instead of just focusing on academics and how it asks us to focus on how we respond to the world.
Timothy, whenever I walk into one of our Catholic schools, whether it's Holy Redeemer, Holy Cross, Notre Dame, St. John Newman, I always sense that it's more than just a school or an institution. It feels to me like more of a family, like a larger Christian family. Do you share that feeling also?
Yes, absolutely. Although our academics are second to none and our spiritual life like that, we call ourselves the royal family, and we really think that we always live up to that. Like in times of tragedy, we all come back together, and we all love helping the community through our different clubs. Like we all have coat drives, food drives, other clubs that we just started in the last couple of years, like the Pallbearer Ministry, which is a club that we have where if the deceased, their family are unable to, or they don't have many family, we will come in and carry their casket in the funeral and such like that, really helping the corporal works of mercy that Pope Francis talks about, like burying the dead, and the food drives, giving food to those who don't have it, or clothing naked through our clothes drives and such like that, things such like that.
Alexis, a typical student nowadays has so much on their plate between academics, extracurricular activities, sports, and all that. You folks are going above and beyond the call of duty when you get involved in some of the service opportunities that Timmy was just referring to. Why do you think those service opportunities are so important? Why do you enjoy being part of that?
Well, personally, the service aspect of, I think, our Catholic school system has been my favorite aspect of being part of a Catholic school the past 4 years. I think I strive each year to get involved in all the service activities that are offered. And I can't imagine being part of Holy Redeemer without that. It's kind of part of who we are as a royal family. I think one of the most prevalent service activities we do is go to the St. Vincent de Paul Soup Kitchen down in Wilkes-Barre. It's very close to us, and the past few years even Bishop Mbare has come and served with us, and our students involved in leadership, and even people who aren't in leadership coming to help. And seeing, maybe someone you don't talk to every day come from your school and converse while you're serving, and seeing that close-knit community through serving others and acting out what we learn every day at a Catholic school, and not just proclaiming but actually doing. I think seeing that is an extraordinary experience. And
So following up on that, in addition to talking about religion and learning about Christ in the classroom, why do you think it's so important for Catholic students to go beyond the classroom and to live out what they're learning about Christ in the community?
I think it's incredibly important because we want to have many different aspects to our personality. We want to be a multifaceted individual when we go out into the world. And the Catholic education asks us to go beyond the classroom and to extend ourselves in opportunities that we might not be comfortable going to. And we tend to learn a lot more about ourselves when we do that. I know that some of the service work that is required, we learn certain new things about ourselves, but the service work that's not required is where we really tend to grow. I've done a lot of work with Marley's Mission, which is a local nonprofit, and I've learned that their outreach, even though it's localized to this community, they really extend their outreach to the entire world. So it's more of a global outreach, and it's not limiting the sense of community to just one area. And I think that's something that Catholicism really is a part of, because even though we're in a Catholic high school in a little area in Scranton, Catholics are a worldwide community of believers, and so we're part of a much bigger global impact. And I think that's something that I really learned from my Catholic education, so that's a major and important part of my life.
Again, as I recall with my own son when he attended one of our schools years ago, service was considered a required part of the curriculum. There was so many hours of service you had to do in a particular year, and I think your senior year you had to take on a special project. Is that still the case today with schools like Holy Cross?
Yeah, it is. And for my particular projects, and me and 40 other students, along with our chaplain at the time, Father Clark, and a couple other teachers, we actually went down to West Virginia to serve Habitat for Humanity. And we spent a week there. There was no phone service, which was not as bad as I thought it would be. And we just basically built houses for people who couldn't afford them and who may have lost their houses in terrible, tragic accidents. And aside from just the service part of it, building the houses, the camaraderie with the kids, it was also an incredible experience to meet these people. We got to hear their stories. We got to first travel to West Virginia, which was actually unspeakably beautiful. And I had no idea about this until I actually went. And there were also the times that we weren't building. The day we had off, our last day, we got pizza, we went bowling, we went rock climbing, and one of my favorite memories of the trip, actually, we were playing soccer before we went rock climbing, and I had broken a toe, and because I didn't know you're not supposed to kick a soccer ball with boots on, as I found out. And so the deacon who was on the trip, who's a friend with our chaplain at the time, he hung at the back with me the entire time up, and he was taking a deep personal interest in me. We were talking, and it felt like I'd known this person my entire life, and he was just doing me a favor and hanging at the back with me because I couldn't keep up with everyone else. And so when I look at that trip, it's not only just the hours that I gained or the service that it was also the truly changing experiences for me, especially when I think back to that deacon helping me up the mountain. Just subtle ways like that our services help other people and help us.
Timothy, when I think about everything that you folks have been saying over the last few minutes, in addition to a quality academic education and then the Christian values, to me, it sounds like as you're getting ready now to get ready to put in college applications, and then hopefully once you get into young adulthood, go for that first job, it sounds like Holy Redeemer, Holy Cross are preparing you guys well for the challenges that are going to lie ahead. Do you feel that you're well prepared for what's going to come after you leave Holy Redeemer?
Yes, I think Holy Redeemer is preparing me greatly for the future. Along with the academics, I was saying, was second to none with all the classes they offer, from the AP all the way down to the college prep level classes. That those subjects are really preparing me to strive in college, and also with the like theology part of it, like the classes that we take as a junior, the morality part of theology really helps us with like our decision making, really like helping with our conscience, seeing like right and wrong, and like the academics and also theology is teaching us like determination, because if you aren't really determined in your work, you'll get like behind, and that's really teaching us how like college is like that also. So we have to really be determined, stay in tune with everything else, and not just like academics, theology, personal life. You just got to juggle everything together.
Alexis, when I was listening to Gannon talk earlier about his experience working with Habitat for Humanity, I was thinking about the fact that last year you were part of the mission group that worked with the Pontifical Mission Society's office here in the diocese. So you had a similar experience. And I think if you weren't going to a school like Holy Redeemer, chances are you wouldn't have been inspired to get involved in that trip. Why did that opportunity mean so much to you, and why do you think that's kind of an extension of what you're learning at Holy Redeemer?
I agree with that completely, that if I wasn't going to a Catholic school like Holy Redeemer, I most likely would not have, number one, known about the opportunity for the mission trip, but actually have sought out to participate. I think, as Gannon was saying before, the mission trip or any service trip is such a phenomenal experience. I think the foundation for me having interest in service, like I was saying before, narrows down to the foundation of our school, who is just a part of us, of service. And I think down there I went to Mississippi and Tennessee, and we helped, well, my group helped a 70-year-old woman whose house was completely vandalized while she was gone taking care of her mother in a really not good area, impoverished area. Mm-hmm. And seeing that, working in that, in the heat, no air conditioned house, and seeing the conditions that people go through in anywhere, even locally. But for that experience, I think being able to help someone who is in that condition and learning about yourself throughout the whole process, I think is very important. And I think being able to do service experiences gives us a different perspective. And I think incorporating what Tim was just saying about how you have to juggle academics, personal life, and our faith, mm-hmm. I think what gives us a distinction as a Catholic school is that we have such a high academic goal, mm-hmm. but I think what helps us is that faith foundation, and I think that foundation helps us keep that perspective in morals, mm-hmm. in everyday life. And I think if we didn't have that and have the opportunity for these service projects, we wouldn't be able to act out what we learn in school.
Zoe, one thing I've noticed about any of our Catholic schools when I walk in there, especially on a day where they're having a school mass, is I just sit back and I watch everyone from the students, faculty, and staff all taking part in that celebration of Eucharist. And it dawns on me that everyone from the teacher to the custodians, the coaches, they're all sharing the same Catholic faith, the same values. What do you think of the faculty and staff at your school? Do you feel comfortable enough where you could go up and talk with faculty? Do you realize that they are kind of part and parcel of this larger Catholic family?
It really is incredible to look out as we're in Mass and realize that the entire student body is there, and that the entire body of our school encompasses much more than just the students. It involves the teachers, the faculty, the staff, even the coaches sometimes come to our Masses. And it's great to see everybody come out, and we really feel that we have a great sense of family. And I know that's not just at Holy Cross, it's also at Holy Redeemer and at all of the Catholic schools in the diocese. All the students I know from other schools report the same sense of just a sense of family and belonging in their schools. And I think I've really come to realize this as a senior, since I'm applying to colleges and going through the application processes. And I've noticed that a lot of my teachers will ask me, how's the process going? Do you need help with anything? And they're very interested in what we're going to do with the rest of our lives, and they're a very big part of that, and they want to continue being a part of that. When alumni come back to the school around Christmas or any of the holidays to visit, they always talk with the teachers, and the teachers are still very interested to see, well, how is everything going? Do you need help with anything? So it's great to see that sense of family in the Catholic schools.
Ken, and you personally, what kind of a relationship have you had the last few years with the faculty at Holy Cross?
Well, for me personally, it's been completely eye-opening. I actually transferred from a public school to the school I'm at now after my freshman year. And when I came in, I was like, of course, a little bit timid because it was a new school, and I've never been to Catholic school before. And when I came in, what really set Catholic school apart for me was the teachers. I think they were like our parents, they were like our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents, and they took this really, as Zoe said, this really genuine interest in you as a human being as opposed to just a student. They'll ask you about your college, but they'll also ask you about your parents, your grandparents, how things are going at home. And so that really set apart Catholic school for me as someone who never been in it before. My parents wanted me to have a Catholic education, so when I came, I was timid, and the teachers really make the concerted effort to get to know you as a human being, aside from just a student that they have to ship along the next year.
Timothy, if you had the opportunity to get up in front of a group of prospective students and parents who were trying to decide where they're going to send their children for school, what do you think you would tell them in order to give a sales pitch for Catholic education if you had that opportunity?
I think the main reason to go to a Catholic school, along with the education and the theology part of it, is like the family, like the royal family as we call it down at Holy Redeemer, that we really are one. Like the teachers, like you go to any teacher, you could talk to them about anything they want. If it's like with homework, if you need like help with any certain subject, or just like talk to them about your family life, social life, anything. You could go to the guidance counselors. They will go out of their way to help you. They'll do anything for you. And then, as I was saying, that we are a family. If you come to like any of our sporting events, you could see how passionate we are for what we do. Like if you for our basketball games, our student section, we're just really passionate for our team, wanting them to win, or things just such as the spirit games that we have in Catholic Schools Week. If you come in our gymnasium during Catholic Schools Week and see the spirit games, it's probably one of the most competitive sporting events you'll ever see in your life, with each class battling it off, which just really exemplifying our love and pride that we have for our school.
Alexis, I'm sure you're probably right in the middle right now of applying for different colleges and all that. Those 4 years, I mean, they pretty much fly by pretty quickly, but do you think in those 4 years they've laid the foundation for you in order to excel in college and beyond?
Absolutely. I think the process of applications has helped me really, truly realize how much I've actually been able to do the past 4 years at Holy Redeemer. When I try to list extracurriculars, community service, any life experience, it takes a long time to try to remember each thing that I've been able to do, especially with extracurricular and service activities. And I think that aspect, along with academics, even in interviews I've had at colleges where they ask how many college courses are you taking or AP classes, and they're surprised at the accelerated academic load that students at Holy Redeemer take. They're very surprised, along with all the extracurriculars and service projects, and they're surprised, where do you find the time for it? I find others asking me that, how do you time manage? And truly, all of that has helped me to time manage, balancing faith, academics, and the service.
Gannon, you yourself, as you get ready now to move on, college can be a very scary time and whatnot, but one thing I've noticed about our Catholic schools, they all seem to thrive in terms of winning the most scholarship money. Usually the large percentage of our Catholic school students do go on to college. Do you think you're well prepared now to move forward once you leave Holy Cross?
Of course, as you mentioned about scholarships and everything else, our teachers, our guidance counselors, our administrators, they charge students, they give the students information, but they also task us with filling out this information. So they're taking an active role in what we do next, aside from just where we go to college and recommendations, just helping us actually get in and paying for college. As far as college itself goes, I do feel much more prepared in that sense, just because I've gone to Catholic school, as well as what these two said about the academic parts of it. What I value the most, for me, is what the Catholic school asked me to be a better person. And I never knew what it was like to pray in a community like I knew before. And then I came here, I had the first Mass, I think the first week of school, I was able to talk to our chaplain whenever I wanted to about things about God or any other questions that I had. And for me, that really just shed shed a new skin in me, and I was able to find out more about myself just because I was able to have that background and being able to talk about my faith, and it made me a better person. So when I go to college, it is a scary thing, but I feel comforted in the fact that not only has our high school and Holy Redeemer's High School prepared us for academics, for athletics, any extracurricular activities that we could possibly do in college, but also prepared us to be people, good, solid people in Christ. And I wouldn't have had that experience anywhere else.
Timothy, following up on that, one last question. When you think about the challenges that young people face today at your age level and in college and whatnot, in a very scary world where we see a lot of terrible things happening, why do you think those Christian values that you're learning today at Holy Redeemer are going to benefit you so much as you move into adulthood?
Yes, the teachers and administration at Holy Redeemer, they really implement that high school is not a spectator sport. That in high school you have to get involved in like certain clubs, activities, sports, anything like, and they really implement us getting to service projects. As you said before, that we have like have to have a certain amount of service hours done each year, and as if you look at the papers, not a lot of students are close to that. They go above and beyond everything. Like they have like 50 hours of service each year. They're going to the soup kitchen, different places like that. They're really like helping other people with tutoring, other tutoring programs. They're really making a difference in the community. And as you said, the world isn't in the best hands right now. So the morality, the theology, the things that we are being taught at our Catholic schools are really making a difference in our life. And as Pope Francis said, that we are the future of the Catholic Church, and the future starts now. So we should be trying to make a difference in our community, in our school, and in our church lives.